Hey everyone, welcome to our channel, where untold stories and unsolved mysteries come to life. If you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated on all our fascinating cases. Today we're diving into a mysterious story about a man who disappeared in an inexplicable way. Stay tuned until the end to uncover the shocking details. The shadow in the mirror. When Eric moved into his new home, a grand but abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town, he never imagined he would become a prisoner of his own nightmares. The house had been left untouched for decades, its previous owners long forgotten. The low price had seemed like an incredible deal, and Eric, eager to start fresh, ignored the unsettling feeling that crept into his mind the moment he stepped inside. Dust coated the wooden floors, the air was thick with age, and a faint, lingering scent of something metallic clung to the walls. He spent the first few hours exploring, his footsteps echoing eerily through the vast empty halls. Then, in the attic, covered by a heavy cloth thick with cobwebs, he found it. A mirror. It was enormous, nearly 7 feet tall, with a golden frame intricately carved with Gothic symbols. The craftsmanship was exquisite, yet something about it made his skin crawl. The moment he laid eyes on it, an unexplainable sensation washed over him, like he was being watched. Still, he convinced himself it was just exhaustion. He decided to move the mirror to his bedroom, placing it against the farthest wall opposite his bed. That night, everything changed, whispers in the dark. As Eric lay in bed staring at the ceiling, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The room was quiet, but there was an unnatural stillness in the air. A strange pressure built in his chest, and when he turned his head slightly toward the mirror, his breath caught in his throat. There was a figure in the reflection, a shadow, tall, motionless, standing just behind his bed. His heart pounded violently as he sat up, fumbling to turn on the bedside lamp. The moment the light flickered on, the figure was gone. Only his reflection stared back at him. His mind raced. Had he imagined it? He spent the next few minutes convincing himself it was just his imagination. Lack of sleep, stress, that had to be it. And yet, as he reached over to turn off the lamp, a soft sound made his blood run cold. A whisper, faint, indistinct, coming from the mirror. Eric froze, his body stiff with terror. He listened, barely breathing, straining to hear the words. Then, clear as day, a voice rasped, "Let me out!" Eric jumped out of bed, nearly tripping over himself as he backed away. His gaze locked onto the mirror, now pulsing with a strange darkness. His own reflection seemed off, slightly delayed, and his eyes in the mirror were darker than they should have been. Something was inside, the man in the mirror. The next day, Eric tried to rationalize what had happened. Lack of sleep, an overactive imagination, maybe even the stress of moving. But as night fell, his dread returned. The whispers started again. Each night they grew louder, turning into guttural, pleading voices. And then, on the 7th night, he made the mistake of answering. "Who are you?" he whispered, barely recognizing his own voice. The mirror rippled, like a pond disturbed by a single drop of water. Then, for the first time, the voice responded clearly, "I am you." Eric's blood turned to ice. His reflection smiled, a wide, unnatural grin that did not match his own. Panic surged through him as he staggered backward. The reflection in the mirror no longer moved in sync with him. It had taken on a life of its own. Then slowly, deliberately, his doppelganger reached out and pressed its hand against the glass. The surface of the mirror cracked. Eric stumbled for the door, but the moment he turned his back, a cold hand wrapped around his wrist. Trapped, he screamed. The room distorted around him, colors shifting into a sickly gray. He was being pulled backward, dragged toward the mirror by an unseen force. The glass, now fluid-like, swallowed his hand, then his arm, then his face. Darkness consumed him. When he opened his eyes, he was standing in his bedroom. But something was wrong. The world around him was dim. Colors were muted, sounds distant. The air was thick, heavy, suffocating. Then realization struck like lightning. He turned toward the mirror. Inside it, the room looked normal, warm, bright, And standing there, smirking at him from the other side of the glass, was himself. But it wasn't him. The reflection raised a hand, waving mockingly before reaching for the bedside lamp. With a sickening flick, the light went out. Eric pounded on the glass, screaming, but no one could hear him. He was trapped. And on the other side of the mirror, in his world, the shadow that had taken his place stepped out into reality, free at last. I know you're probably wondering what happened in this mysterious story, but sadly, I don't have the answers for you either. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, leave a comment, and tell us what you think happened. Don't forget to subscribe because we've got plenty more strange tales and unexpected events coming your way. See you in the next one, where the mysteries never stop. Until then,